Welcome, NFL fans. This is going to be a great show. Thank you for tuning in to another edition of NFL Chat brought to you by www.sports-kings.com. We're talking NFL free agency. What else? It's Tuesday. The frenzy hit at about 4 o'clock. Kind of broke Twitter, it seemed like, there for a while. I don't know if that was actually the cause or not, but something surely did, and I think the NFL free agency period is a good suspect. I'm your host, Andy. Tonight with me, I have Brett.
Hello. doing some last minute free agency stuff.
He got caught up looking in the camera at his own shirt. We have Shane.
What's up? It's Christmas in March.
That's right. We have David.
Great to be here again. I can't believe Shane's head hasn't exploded with all the excitement today.
And last but not least, we have Austin.
How's it going? Continuing the March Madness. Got the handlebars going. I think we're going to take this free agency stuff by the handlebars today, and let's do this. I'm ready.
Ride that thing like a bike. So, the free agency is already been what we expected it to be, I think, at least what I expected it to be. There's been, quite a few moves. Guys have moved around. Some guys have stood pat. So we're going to give you a few topics. The first one being for everybody to pick the two moves they liked the most so far. I mean, it's day one. I know we're getting a little ahead of ourselves here, but why the hell not? Let's go with you first, Shane, and let's talk about the two moves you like the most so far.
Well, the first move I liked the most, obviously, was Jared Veldheer to the Arizona Cardinals. For years, the rhetoric in Arizona... The rhetoric in Arizona every single year has been our offensive line woes, and it's really nice as a Cardinals fan for us finally to have at least tried to solidify that position. We signed him relatively on the cheap for an average of $7 to $7.5 million per year for 5 years. So we're stuck with him for at least 3, but I'm pretty happy with that. The second move that I thought was really good was Seattle Seahawks re-signing of Michael Bennett. For all his talk about it not being Costco or a Walmart, he actually really did give the Seattle Seahawks a hometown discount, and the Seahawks are better off that he took a deal with them.
Absolutely. Yeah, the Michael Bennett one was huge. David, two moves that you really liked.
First of all, I like the Lamar Houston move to the Chicago Bears. I think the Bears, they were on the cusp of the playoffs last year. He is a beast in the middle. He's played on a team that quite frankly has just been awful. So I think Houston moving there could make an immediate impact and give them a little bit of an edge in a division that's pretty winnable across the board. The other one I like is Anton Bethea to San Francisco, and I'll talk about San Francisco in a little bit, but they lost Dante Whitner, but then they refilled with Bethea. I think that's a great move. They're reloading. They've been an NFC Championship team for 2 straight years, and now they got another guy in there that will continue that tradition.
And since my screen down here below kind of deems it that way, we're going to go to Brett next.
I actually surprised no one's hit on it yet, but T.J. Ward to Denver. I think that's the best signing there. I think him and Bird were the two best safeties out there. I don't know which one signed for more, which one signed for less, but that's definitely going to help that secondary in Denver. So T.J. Ward has to be one, and then Lamar Houston to Chicago. I think he was one of the best rushers out there, and to get rid of Julius Peppers, you add a much younger rusher. Lamar Houston's got to be my second one.
All right, in Austin, your two picks.
I am really high on the Giants picking up Rashad Jennings. Like, what a great running back he is, and he kind of in the shadows a bit. I think he's going to do really good over there in New York. That is, if he can get through the lines. I really like that move. And then I got to go with Arthur Jones going to the Colts. They really did some great things on upgrading that defense. They have a lot of cap space to do it. And those Jones brothers, all of them are just monsters. I'll take any Jones brother any day of the week. Really excited for the Colts with Arthur Jones being on their team.
Yeah, absolutely. And the two I had are two guys. I guess it's not surprising at this point since I was the last man on the totem pole. Plus, I didn't write anything down, and I'm just piggybacking off what you guys said anyways. I had T.J. Ward. He was my number one as well. I think that's going to be a great addition for, you know, a team who didn't really look like they knew how to play defense in the Super Bowl. I guess they didn't really look like they knew how to do anything, but I like that pick. And my other one was Michael Bennett. Shane, I think you're the one that said Michael Bennett. I feel like keeping key guys in Seattle, you know, after their great run is a big deal. And, you know, I think a lot of people kind of thought he was gone after those Costco comments. I mean, I thought it was kind of funny and kind of goofy at the same time to say, but you know, keeping him around was a good idea, and it's going to work out, I think. So
I thought you were going to go with Javed for sure.
You know, I had, and we're not talking Javed. Come on, we're talking Joy Bell. Javed.
Ah, no, I messed up.
And you know, I had him. He was kind of an extra. I don't think I could have taken him over the two I had. I do, as a Lions fan, since you brought it up, I'm going to talk about it. I do like the Lions re-signing Bell, and he was fairly cheap too. So a guy who will probably be seeing just as many snaps as Reggie Bush. It's a good thing for Detroit. He catches the ball well out of the backfield. I think he does just about everything Bush does, and maybe a little more power. But we won't dwell on that because the Lions stink. On to the next topic, and that's the tail side of the coin here, and that's two moves we didn't necessarily like, and maybe not necessarily because the player's bad. Could be because of the fit or the amount of money paid. We'll start with you first, Austin.
I could really only think of one that I didn't like. I threw in another one in there, but the one that I absolutely cannot stand is McFadden getting another year in Oakland. Come on, let's move on from this. He's always hurt. You gotta just move away from him. I think his time is up. You know, I'd like to see Run DMC do some work again, but I think that time has just passed. It's time for them to, for them to let go of Rashad Jennings and then keep Darren McFadden just upsets me. So that one was a big one in my opinion. And then I would go with maybe the Colts picking up DeQuell Jackson. He had some really good leadership skills and stuff, but the amount that they paid him. What was it? Let's see, 4 years, $22 million with $11 million guaranteed. I think they could have put their money to better use. He's a bit older. I mean, we're talking 31 years old, so that one kind of bothered me too. But by far, Run DMC in Oakland. Come on, we're done with this.
Jason Whitney and Justin Arbogast, looking at you fellas. That's your boys. We'll go with you next, David. Two picks you didn't necessarily like too much.
Yeah, the one, I think, mistake that people make too much in free agency, people being general managers with too much money for cents, is overpaying for guys that are past their prime for a team that's not contending. And so both of these guys happen to play for the same team, or will play for the same team. And one is Dante Whitner, and then the other is Carlos Dansby. Here's two guys on defense. Here's a team that's not going anywhere soon. They don't have the offensive weapons. They traded away Trent Richardson. Now they're signing these veteran free agents on defense that are going to potentially contribute for, let's say, at best 2 years. But both of them have seen better days, and I just don't know what they're thinking there in Cleveland. And we might talk about that later in another segment of which team I think did worse today. But those two guys, don't go after old guys who are slow and if you're not contending.
And Cleveland's front office looks a lot like this. But
with no line.
We don't do the line. We're gonna jump right to you, Shane, and let's hear your thoughts on some of this action.
Let me get on my soapbox. First off, the worst move of the day had to have been the San Francisco 49ers acquiring Blaine Gabbert for a 6th-round pick. He is absolutely horrid. He has never done anything in the NFL. His passer rating is 63.33. He is just a horrible signing. And to top it off, Gabbert's cap hit is more than Kaepernick's right now. Gabbert is getting $2 million in 2014, and Kaepernick is getting $1.6 million. So I'm sure that'll change once they give Kaepernick a new deal if they do. But if they go into the season with Kaepernick carrying a $1.6 million cap hit, I don't think he's going to like that very much. Second, my other move is more moves, and it has to do with days. Basically, Cleveland tried to sell their fan base that they were letting T.J. Ward and DeQuell Jackson go because of age, and then they bring in two guys that are older, and T.J. Ward apparently was probably affordable for them to retain. I mean, if he only signed for $5.5 million a year in Denver, that's really crazy that they weren't able to cough up a contract to make him stay in Cleveland.
But do you think that he gave Denver a better price than he potentially would have given Cleveland, though, given the situation, you know, the night and day that is those two teams?
I don't have Whitner's contract right in front of me, but I'm willing to bet they would have paid him more than what they paid Whitner. So T.J. Ward may have wanted out. They had used the transition tag on Mac, and you can't use the transition tag and the franchise tag in the same year. You can only apply one of them. So, you know, apparently they deemed that Mac was more valuable to their team, and they let T.J. Ward walk. But my whole point is they're trying to sell that these two guys were that they were going to get better. And DeQuell Jackson and age was a factor in their release, basically, is what most speculated. And then they signed Carlos Dansby, who's even older. Oh, by the way, Carlos Dansby is a piece of crap for saying that he wanted to stay in Arizona and then leaving.
Before I kick it over to Brett, you kind of brought up a point that was funny to me because I was having a discussion about it on social media earlier, and that was Blaine Gabbert. And, you know, I saw people saying, what were they thinking? And then I saw a 49ers fan say, you know, it's a completely low-risk move. It's basically – and actually I saw a news article that was like something like they got Blaine Gabbert for a McDonald's gift card, and I was like, it's kind of a waste of a sixth-round pick. I mean, it is a sixth-round pick, but aren't they wasting it by acquiring Blaine Gabbert? Didn't make any sense to me. He's like a gunshot. He's got that, you know, like Tina Turner syndrome. He's been hit too many times, and his shoulder's coming up to try to block the blow. But, yeah, Brett, your turn.
I think Dave actually, both of mine have been stolen already, but Dave touched on it. I'm going to go with Dante Whitner in Cleveland. I don't know how you sell your fan base on getting rid of T.J. Ward and then bring in Dante Whitner, who struggles in pass protection. I mean, originally the rumors were they're going to bring in Bird, they're going to bring in Bird, they're going to bring in Bird, and then last minute it was, oh no, we're switching, we're going to get Dante Whitner. It just doesn't make sense. You had one of the top safeties available in T.J. Ward, and you let him go for a top 10 safety at best. And then I also actually think Antoine Bethea to San Francisco is a bad move. It probably counteracts my last argument, but to get rid of Dante Whitner and to bring in Bethea, I don't think that's improving your team. I think maybe that's a step down a little bit, but it's hard to pick two bad moves. I had to scrap around for a second one, so Bethea to San Francisco is my second.
Yeah, and some of these moves, I mean, it's speculation. It's kind of hard to say. I mean, because who knows? You know, some of them are a little easier than others. My two, and I'm gonna put on these specs so I look real smart.
Oh, here we go.
Oh, you see this?
Just like Brett.
This might be the only time tonight that I make a pick that one of you guys didn't already say. No, I'm taking these off because I don't want them on. But my first one I'll go with, and I'll talk about that to start off because none of you guys picked it. And mine was, I talked about it a little bit before the show, was the Bucks with Michael Johnson, just because they gave him so much money. To me, it was like $43 million. And I don't understand for a guy who only had 3.5 sacks last season. I mean, I understand that he's probably making a little bit of that money based on what he's done in the past. He had 11.5 sacks the season before that. But other than the 2012 season where he had 11.5 sacks, the guy really hasn't done a whole lot in the pass rushing department. Now, I understand he's a decent run stopper. I heard people saying he was a brilliant run stopper earlier. I don't know if I necessarily agree with that. I think in Cincinnati they had a pretty fierce defense, and I mean, he might have kind of hidden that system a little bit. But I didn't like the $43 million. I thought it was kind of excessive. And Tampa almost seems to me like they're one of those teams, too, who just gets that, you know, I got money, and I'm going to spend it. Yeah, it's crazy. My other one was something that Austin said, and I'm surprised nobody else said it. Darren McFadden, I don't know. I felt like they were talking about him possibly going to Miami, I heard earlier in the week. And to me, that would have been a better move for Miami to give him even a bigger deal, just because they haven't dealt with the heartbreak that is Darren McFadden. I mean, he gives you that one really good season, and then he's really done nothing since then. And I really felt like Jennings was going to get the contract. I think Austin was on the same page with that. I just didn't understand it. I think a lot of fans kind of figured it is. But it's the Oakland Raiders. I mean, who are we kidding here? I don't think that any of us should really be surprised. So let's jump into the next one, and this kind of can play off of either of the first two we had, and that'll be the team that we believe improved the most just based on the first day. And again, bear with us, guys. I mean, I know it's been one day, and the day's not even over yet, as it's only about 10 p.m. here on Tuesday night. But we'll start with you first, Shane. And who do you think made the biggest leaps today?
Well, before I get right into your question, I just want to let you guys know what Bird's contract was, because I know Brett's interested. It was 6 years, $9 million a year, $54 million total, with $28 million guaranteed. He's getting $9 million average per year, where T.J. Ward only got, I believe it was $5.5 million a year. So there's no doubt.
I want to go back to the last question and change one of my answers.
Me too. At $9 million a year, me too.
All right, never mind. All right, so Shane, on to our team that improved the most.
Well, I know it's going to be homerism again, but I really think the Arizona Cardinals improved the most when they solidified that left tackle position, because the problem, Bruce Arians, when he came into Arizona, he's a down-the-field type of coach. He likes to stretch the field, take some shots downfield, and Carson Palmer really struggled last year doing that. In fact, towards the end of the season, the reason why the Cardinals got better was actually because I believe Arians kind of simplified the playbook, and he started doing the short to intermediate passes more. So once you have a left tackle to protect your franchise, well, he's not a franchise quarterback, but the quarterback that you think is going to take you to the Super Bowl, then you can start opening up your playbook again. So I'm going to go with the Arizona Cardinals, simply because they solidified a great position of need, and they did it for an affordable price.
David, on to you. Who do you think? What team do you think kind of stole the day?
I'm going to go with two teams, so I'm going to break your rules, but I think in one case, but I'll be brief on those. The 49ers and bringing in Bethea, and then also signing Anquan Bolden and Phil Dawson back, solidified that nucleus. They'll be just as competitive next year. So they didn't really improve, but at least they didn't take a hit. But the team that I think made some of the most curious moves might have been the Miami Dolphins. They're a team in flux right now. They went out and they got Earl Mitchell. They went after the line, and you got to build a team around line, in my opinion. So they got Earl Mitchell, Brendan Albert as offensive tackle, and Paul Soliai as defensive tackle. So there's three guys that they got to again rebuild from the inside. Guys that 2 of the 3. I'm sorry, Soliai went to the Falcons. So let me withdraw that. But I'll say Mitchell and Albert came in and will solidify that team, especially on the offensive line where they needed some help. So -1 point for me there.
Brett, what team do you think made the biggest impact in day one?
I'm going to steal Dave's thunder and go with two teams as well, but I have two teams for different reasons.
Stop. What do you
I
guys think this is? You guys dress up and now you can just break the rules?
Exactly. I'm going to Indy. I think Austin touched on it a little bit earlier. They kept Vontae Davis. They brought in Art Jones, who I think is a great situational defensive tackle, defensive end. He can play both spots. Jaqual Jackson, I think, upgrades their linebacking core a little bit. I want to see what they do the rest of free agency. They didn't really lose anyone, and they have added significant pieces on defense. Not big names, but big enough names. And I also went with Baltimore. They didn't do anything, but they re-signed Eugene Monroe, and they kept Dennis Pitta as well. They haven't lost anyone, but they kept the two biggest names that would have been hitting free agency this year. So I think they won without doing anything.
I mean, holding on to your guys counts too. So I think that we should point that out. I mean, it really does. I think that can sometimes make the biggest impact on your team is holding guys that have already been there, re-signing players. Austin, your pick.
Yep, Brett stole mine, man. It was the Colts all the way. They have done so good on day one. They got both of their kickers, the kicking game, the punting game. That's going to be just the way they want it with those vets in there, Pat McAfee and Adam Vinatieri. Arthur Jones, I think, was my favorite one, and then getting their cornerback back, like Brett had mentioned. We'll throw a little curveball in there, and I'll say the Buffalo Bills, just because they finally got rid of Cobb. So how about that?
So that's a fair improvement from the day. And I had the Colts as well. So I mean, 3 in a row. I guess it's hard to deny what they did. I'll talk about somebody else just because you guys have already pretty much summed it up with the Colts. I think the Falcons did a pretty good job in Atlanta today. They re-signed a couple of linemen, and then they brought on a couple of linemen. I believe that's right. 4 guys in total for the line. Yeah, I have a whole bunch of names here.
Defensive tackles in there.
Yeah, I got a whole bunch of names I'm not interested in pronouncing, but
I pronounced them earlier for you.
yeah, but you know, I wasn't. I honestly, I was trying to do it, but yeah, I think it's 4 in all. It's 3 defensive players and 1 offensive player. Yeah. Yeah, yeah. There you go. David's giving us our lesson. I don't have my Rosetta Stone yet, so I don't really know what I'm saying. But I feel like for a team who had such high expectations and they kind of fell off the map. I mean, obviously they had injuries on their offense was really their strong suit with Matt Ryan being able to throw the ball with all the weapons. They had the injuries, obviously, to Roddy White to start the season, and he seemed like he wasn't good until like week 9 or 10, and then Julio Jones obviously got hurt early in the season. Gonzalez was aging, and they brought in Steven Jackson to kind of carry the load after Michael Turner fell off, and then Jackson was hurt all season too. So I feel like being able to strengthen that. I think it was 3 defensive tackles, and the other guy is I'm not sure if he was a guard or an offensive tackle, something to that extent. But just bringing in some of those solid linemen to kind of lay the foundation, I feel like will be good for Atlanta. That's a good day 1 start at least. So Colts for me, like Brett and Austin, but Atlanta I wanted to mention. Let's jump into the next topic, and that's the flip side of this coin, and that's who did the worst today. Or, we're not talking teams who stood firm and didn't really do anything at all, but what teams made some boneheaded mistakes. And we're going to go to our guy Shane first.
Oh, it's the Cleveland Browns again. And I feel so bad for the Browns fan base. I mean, I think the Browns have among some of the most loyal fans that I see on social media. And they really do deserve some kind of semblance of a contender. I mean, with any year, all a fan can ask for is for their team to be relevant. And I mean, it's been so long since the Browns, the Bills have been relevant. I mean, those teams, those franchises really deserve one. And their decisions today to bring in Dansby and Dante Whitner, I mean, I don't disagree that Dansby had an outstanding year last year, but you're bringing in 2 aging vets. You're overpaying them. Dansby probably will never see the end of his 4-year contract at 32. You think he's going to be a 36-year-old inside linebacker stopping the run? So I feel really bad for the Browns. I thought that they could have spent their money better. I thought they should have retained T.J. Ward. I thought they should have probably looked somewhere else at inside linebacker. So I'm going to have to go with the Cleveland Browns as the first day free agency losers.
Yeah, and the Browns fans, I mean, like, I commend those guys for still being there. I mean, I'm a Lions fan, and that's obviously tough as well, but jeez. Let's go to you next, Austin.
Yeah, when you go to any grocery store in Cleveland, probably a Kroger. I think that's where Kroger's first originated. Anytime you go through the line and they're like paper or plastic, you're always asking for paper if you're a Browns fan, most definitely. And we got to give it to the Browns again. But I am going to say that the Browns could definitely turn this around. I like the possibility of a Revis going to the Browns. You have Joe Hayden on one side, Revis on the other. They could totally fix this and get rid of that Three Stooges cliche type of deal that's running that franchise. They can fix this. It's not too late. It's day 1. But if we're judging on day 1, I got to mirror what Shane was saying. The Browns, the poor Browns.
And it's like the Browns as an organization got extra money in their Christmas card from their grandma this year, too. I mean, especially if they did something crazy like get Revis. I mean, where's this money coming from? Give me some money. Brett.
I'm not going to pick on the Browns. I mean, they pick on themselves enough. I'm actually going to go with Tampa Bay for a day 1 loser. I mean, they signed Johnson to that way too big of a deal for a defensive end. I don't think that's going to work out. They just signed Eltron Werner from Tennessee, who could work out, and I don't think that's a bad signing. But if he's going to replace Revis, I don't think that's who you replace the Revis with. And I think that's the main reason they lose. You just give up a first-rounder for him, a first and a third-rounder for him, give him all this money, and he played for you for a year, so basically he could rehab and then go to another team. What are they doing? If they didn't want to give him that much money, they shouldn't have given him that much money last year. So they have to be losers for day 1 if he's gone.
Well, and if Tampa Bay wasn't going to play man-to-man coverage in the secondary, why in the hell did they get Revis in the first place? They played him in zone the whole time. It seemed like a real big waste to me. I agree with you, Brett.
Money for rehab. And I'm not even really going to speak on this topic because I had the Browns, and then when everybody started talking about the Browns, my second choice was Tampa, and then Brett foiled that. So I think we're all pretty much on the same page here. Let's jump into 3 individual players that haven't really gone anywhere yet. 2 of them were actually cut today, released today. Let's talk about these guys and where we think that they would be a good fit. We'll start with Michael Vick. He's obviously not one of the guys that was released today, but where do we see Michael Vick going? We'll start with you. Or did I give you a turn last time, David?
No, you didn't.
David,
what?
Last question back to you.
All right.
My bad.
I'll get into whatever I wanted anyway. Well, it's obviously the Browns. We all agree. But one team I also want to point out we haven't talked about is the Kansas City Chiefs. Here they are, a playoff team emerging, and then they lost Brendan Albert to the Dolphins. They lost Dexter McCluster to the Titans, and John Asamoah to the Falcons, and also Tyson Jackson to the Falcons. So they lost 4 guys. But wait, they were able to keep Thomas Gafford. That's their long snapper. So they're set at long snapper next year. Lost 4 guys. At least as far as day 1 goes, I don't see them as a strong move there. Now, if I'll transition to the next question, which is the Michael Vick question. And I think it was a couple weeks ago, somebody, and it might have been Shane, and correct me if I'm wrong, thought that maybe the Raiders were a good match for him. I could see that, but I'm going to play the hometown hat right now and say, what about the Houston Texans? What if Michael Vick went to the Houston Texans? You had a healthy Arian Foster, if you had Johnson on the edge, and a pretty good offensive line, plus a defense that's serviceable if healthy, could be a guy that fits in there. They don't need a guy to go carry the team. They need a guy that can scramble, which Matt Schaub couldn't, and a guy that can maybe distribute the ball short, and then you got Andre Johnson. So why not the Texans?
And that's a good point, too, and I haven't actually heard anybody talk about that. But, yeah, and one thing about the Chiefs, I did notice, since you brought that up real quick, not to – I'm screwing up the flow here, but I did happen to see that ESPN had, like, a poll, out of 100%, like, which team do you think that made the playoffs last season that won't this year? And I think there were, like, 33% of the fans that voted for the Chiefs already, and I think probably a lot of that has to do with the 4 guys you talked about that they lost today. We'll go to you, Brett, with that same question about Michael Vick. What's a good fit for Vick at this point?
I struggle with this one because I don't know if he goes anywhere and starts. I don't know if he stays healthy anywhere. I think he might land in somewhere like Jacksonville. He might head to the Jets in battle with Geno Smith, maybe Minnesota. But I don't know if he's a starter. I need to see him stay healthy and go from there. But I guess best fit is the Jets because they have the defense, they have a decent run game, so they just need a quarterback. I guess I'll go with the Jets.
All right, Austin, same question to you. Michael Vick.
Yep,
New England?
My thoughts as well. No, not New England, for Christ's sake. No, we're going to the doghouse of the AFC East, and that is the Jets. I agree with Brett. You got Geno that can scramble and stuff, but his arm isn't all there. Vick's got a little bit better of an arm, and of course he scrambles, although he doesn't slide. But I think that'd be an upgrade for them if they get Vick. But Geno better be ready because Vick doesn't stay healthy for very long. But I think that he could get the job over in New York, and he could probably get the starting job too, and that'll give Geno, if they want to commit to him, some more time to learn. If you want your quarterback to learn from Michael Vick, but. I'm going to go ahead and go with the Jets for Vick as well.
Yeah, and I often wonder that, like, does a team want their quarterback of the future to learn from Michael Vick? And if they do, Geno Smith is possibly a good mold to kind of pick up some things. I mean, obviously the positive things. We don't want them starting illegal dogfighting rings. Shane, on to you with the Michael Vick question.
Jets, Jets. I absolutely agree with Pete and Brett. The Jets are absolutely the best fit for Michael Vick. Also, it's very, very quietly, the Jets have been building up cap space. They released Antonio Cromartie, and then they, who is the other big release? Santonio Holmes.
Yeah.
So now they have $38 million in cap space. They have the ability to pay Vick probably more than his market value. And I absolutely think the Jets I mean, the Jets are an excellent place for him. I was not the one that suggested the Raiders a few weeks ago. I actually said the Jets would be a 10-win team if they picked up Vick.
And, you know, I obviously had the Jets too because it just seems like the logical scenario. But I was kind of almost laughing to myself a second ago here, thinking about what if he went to the Browns? I mean, they're going nuts right now, and they don't really have like a solid foundation at QB. I almost just feel like that's what, I've talked myself into it. That's what's going to happen. He's going to the Browns. So let's jump into the next guy. And this was a guy who was released today. This was big news, I guess, and that's Julius Peppers being released by Julius Peppers. Peters. I did that earlier. I wrote Peters earlier. Can you believe that? Julius Peppers.
Is it snowing outside over there? Is it like
he sacked my quarterbacks enough times in Detroit? Julius Peppers. Where do we see being a good fit for the aging defensive end?
Who? Me?
I dropped the mic. I'm going to go with you first, Austin.
Oh, man, Peppers, I don't know. The age is a big factor, and he'd have to be willing not to accept a lot of money. I kind of put him in that category with that we're going through right now in New England with Wilfork. He's on the wrong side of 30, and he just went through a significant injury, and he's just got to look himself in the mirror and realize who he is, and accept less money. Now, where he's going to fit, I don't know. I want to say that.
Come on! It's actually it's on your head. It's on your head, Pete. He's a best fit on the left end opposite Jones.
I just don't know. I just don't know if he's but he's gonna want more money than he's worth. I think he wants to use his name and what he's done in the past with Chicago to get more money. I don't know if the Patriots are gonna do that. I think the Patriots would go with someone completely unknown for a fraction of the cost that he would want. I wouldn't mind that. I'll take that, but I don't think that's the Patriot way, so to say. So I think a good landing spot for him to kind of be a leader on a team, on a defense, would be Minnesota. They need something going for them out there, especially if Jared Allen finds a new home. And, I hope that Jared Allen finds some place where he can win, because he's just been such a fantastic player to watch. And it's about time that he gets some playoff experience in him, because he's not going to find that in Minnesota.
Yeah, taking these older players really isn't the Patriot way. I mean, but I was trying to think, who's that team they took Chad Ochocinco and Albert Hainsworth? And I can't seem to remember. We'll go with you next, Shane. I mean, I think we already got your answer, but go ahead.
Absolutely. I think the Patriots are the best fit for him. He's used to playing on the left side. You can pair him with Chandler Jones on the pass rush, and if you got to understand that maybe some of these older guys like Peppers are willing to take a cheaper amount of money in order to play for a contender. And the Patriots made the AFC Championship game last year, and the pass rush might be a key to getting them to the Super Bowl this year.
And that's a good point. I mean, taking less money to play on a team that's proven, and it's not like they're just proven, the last 2 years. They've been proven for a better part of my life. No. David, where do you think is a good landing spot for Julius Peters, a.k.a. Peppers?
Peters, yeah, no.
I'm getting that name change finalized like this week.
It's got to be the Cleveland Browns. Obviously, they're rebuilding with really old guys that are slow and won't be productive. No, I'm just kidding. Actually, here's a thought, and I had the Patriots on my page, and maybe the Niners or the Broncos, a one-year type thing. But what about the Packers? What about going across Lake Michigan or however they work it over there and playing for a rival to try to stick it to the Bears a little bit? And the Packers, by most accounts, will be contenders. They've got a good defense. I do think he'll have to take a discount. He's got two choices: take a discount and play for a contender, or go sign with the Browns. So he'll take the discount, play for a contender. I'll just throw the Packers out there.
So David stole my Browns joke already, so I'm worthless on this topic. Let's go to you, Brett.
Well, can I break the rules again? Can I pick a couple that I seem to go to?
I mean, I really like your shirt and your new camera. So go ahead.
Well, I have a surprising team, I guess, that no one's mentioned that I would consider as a contender who has plenty of money, and that's Cincinnati. They just lost Johnson to Tampa Bay. They have enough money to sign Julius Peppers. He could be an okay defensive end for a couple of years for him while they're still trying to make a run deep in the AFC playoffs. So I'm going to go with the Bengals as one, and then San Francisco as the other one. They don't have a lot of cap money, but he could definitely fit in there if he wants to take a pay cut. So I think it could be between San Francisco and Cincinnati.
Yeah, and I had David had said it, and then obviously Brett, you finished it off. I had San Fran as well. I think it's a proven defense, and we talked a little bit about this a second ago with New England and the possibilities of taking a pay cut to play with a good team. And I think San Fran's the type of team who's going to take a stab at it. I mean, they were rumored with Peyton Manning last year before he signed with Denver. They actually had Luis Delmas from Detroit came in last season before re-signing with Detroit. And the issue there was they just didn't have the money to get Delmas to play there. And I feel like they're at least probably going to give Julius Peppers a look. We'll see what happens, but I feel like definitely one of those teams, the Packers, the Patriots, San Fran, even Cincinnati, teams like that, teams that actually could make a little noise. Although, I mean, take one look at Andy Dalton, and you might not ever want to play in Cincinnati. Go ahead.
San Francisco seems to be taking chances on a lot of people. At first, they traded for Gabbert, and it's just been reported on Twitter that they traded for Jonathan Martin.
Really?
Yep.
Yes.
They should get Richie Incognito. Let's go with our last one, and that's Demarcus Ware, another guy who was released today. And this one was kind of surprising. It seemed like, at least on Twitter, I guess they might have all been Cowboys fans who don't think you're ever supposed to lose anybody who played good at one point. Ware's gone, and I feel like he almost seems like a guy who's got more left in him than Peppers. What's a good landing spot for a guy like Demarcus Ware? We'll start with you, Brett, because you don't look like you're ready.
Oh, I'm ready, actually.
I tried.
I'm going 2 again because I think he ends up in Denver. I think he goes to Denver. They're a contender there. They could use him, and I would love to see Demarcus Ware and Von Miller lining up. I mean, in that defense, that would just be, amazing to watch. But I think the surprising team could be Philadelphia. They have plenty of money left, and what sticks it to Dallas more than to take Demarcus Ware and beat him in the NFC East? And both of them are contenders. I think he goes to a contender just like Julius Peppers.
David, Demarcus Ware for you. Where's the place?
Yeah, I thought the same thing as Brett. What NFC East team would love to just stick it to Jerry Jones? Because let's face it, they all want to do that, and couldn't really come up with a good match there. Agree the Eagles would be the best match there, but I'm going to go back to I think the Patriots. The discussion we had earlier. They like guys that are in their prime for very short contracts, prime or towards the end of prime. So Demarcus Ware in New England can make a big difference in that division, which doesn't have a lot of contenders. They're obviously going to be good as long as Brady's there. So bring a defensive impactful player like Ware in town, and that could be the difference to get them past their hurdles.
Shane.
Brett took the words right out of my mouth. I'm not even going to expound on it. I totally agree with Denver, and pairing him beside Von Miller and going to the Eagles. I would say one caveat with the Eagles would be that he would probably play the same position as Trent Cole. Him signing there might be contingent on them releasing him, or maybe they would just want depth.
Austin.
I was thinking New England would be a good fit for him too. I like Ware in New England over Peppers, definitely. He'd just have to be willing to take that pay cut. But it would be interesting to see him stay within the division and take it to the Cowboys. I feel like he really would have liked to stay there. But if you just look at their cap, there's just no way they could do it. They got to make a move. They can't afford him. But yeah, let's keep him in that division. Let's have some good Sunday night football, Monday night football, some division rivalries there, and see some former teammates exchange some blows there. That'd be great. I would love to see him go to the Eagles in that division, but I like the Patriots as a good fit for him. What were you going to say, Shane?
How ironic would it be for Ware to take out Tony Romo?
Oh, that'd be great.
I've actually heard.
Tony probably just give him the ball.
That's right. Throw it to him.
Tuesday.
Oh, I don't want it anymore. You know, and this was actually the spot where I was thinking a team. I don't remember who said it. Somebody said it for Julius Peppers a moment ago, and I was thinking Green Bay. I don't know why I couldn't get it out of my head as much as I tried because I don't really want him to land in Green Bay, but I just kept thinking about him in the green and yellow and just crushing my quarterback all season.
I've actually heard. It might just be Bills fans wishing we would sign someone other than Dan Carpenter, but I've heard a bunch of people saying Julius Peppers or Demarcus Ware lined up in Buffalo with Marcel Darius and Kyle Williams and Mario Williams would be a great front four for Jim Schwartz to just unload on. So I don't know if they're going to spend the money, but I can dream, I guess.
Absolutely. The other one I was thinking, because I think we all had the same idea with them saying in the same division, I was kind of leaning towards the Giants just because I always see the Giants as one of those teams who want to kill your quarterback. They want to get in there, and they need guys like that. I don't know if it would work. I mean, the Giants, as of the last couple of years, haven't been too terribly intriguing for players to land there. I guess we'll go with one last question here, and this is kind of a variation of something we already had written down. But I'll go around, and I want to ask one question, and that's, who do you guys want to see sign somewhere? Like, what is your player of choice going to a certain team? We'll start with you, Austin. Who do you want to see go to New England? No, it doesn't have to be New England. I'm just kidding.
I was actually.
It can be, but it doesn't.
At work today, my job is kind of monotonous. You have a lot of time to yourself, a lot of time to get lost in your head, and I just envisioned this island forming in New England secondary. I really did. I was thinking about it. It would be nice. You know, Talib is going to be on his way out, and why not replace that with Darrelle Revis, a little bit unproven as of late. Sure, he was like the best cornerback in the league 2-3 years ago, and then the injury happened. But yeah, I was thinking about that. But no, I really want Revis to land in Cleveland. Give that town something to cheer about. Put him on the other side of Joe Hayden. I really like that move to happen, so I'm rooting for that one.
Move that you'd like to see, Brett.
I'm going to go with, I think it's been mentioned earlier, I'll give a homer pick next, but I would like to see Jared Allen go to a contender. He's been in Minnesota for so long. It's just he's due to at least, I know they made a deep run in the playoffs when they had Brett Favre, but I want to see him in the playoffs again. I hope he signs with Seattle or San Francisco or New England, somewhere that he can make some noise and maybe hit the playoffs. But as a homer pick, I would love, like I just said, Peppers or Demarcus Ware in Buffalo. I just think that defensive line would be too much, and I just think it would be great to see what they could do.
All right, so sticking with the trend, David, because we've kind of switched this up mid-topic, which is fine. Let's go with what pick you want to see, or what move you'd like to see, what free agent land where, and then give us a homer pick as well.
Yeah, I'll just piggyback. I actually had
the
contender thing, but I stole that from earlier when we said Jared Allen to a contender. When I looked over the top free agents left, I think that guy has been an animal, a beast, a force to be reckoned with in the NFL, and it'd be great to see him make the Super Bowl. As far as a homer pick, I'm going to have to go with maybe Eric Decker to the Texans. That'd be great to complement Andre Johnson. Big receiver, you'd have two good weapons on the outside. Doesn't matter who the quarterback is. Again, it's all about if Foster can get healthy, but why not? Eric Decker to the Texans.
Shane, your ideal pick and your homer pick.
Well, I'm going to give you some love, Andy. I really think I'd like to see Golden Tate go to the Detroit Lions. I'm a fan, and who could not be, of Calvin Johnson. And it would be great if they can get a speed threat to stretch the field and get Calvin Johnson some more catches. My homer pick, without question, would be Demarcus Ware to the Arizona Cardinals. I just think adding that outside pass rush threat, the Arizona Cardinals would hopefully be able to get to the quarterbacks of the Seattle Seahawks and the San Francisco 49ers and win the NFC West next year.
That's a Super Bowl pick, by the way, right? Let's reconfirm this about every week. Shane has the Arizona Cardinals winning the Super Bowl. Is that correct, Shane?
Yes. They will be the first team in NFL history to play in the Super Bowl in their home stadium.
And I had the Colts and Cardinals. I had the Colts and Cardinals in the Super Bowl, and all you other people picked them as best day today. So I'm off to a good start.
All right, we're getting delusional here. I'm gonna my pick is a guy we talked about, and my pick more boils down to the fact that I think it's going to be hilarious because it's going to happen. And I want Michael Vick in Cleveland. I just really want that to happen so bad. At this point, I can't talk myself into saying anything else. And my homer pick would be for the Lions to just get me somebody in that secondary who can cover someone. Like, I feel like actually a great fit for them. I don't know that they can work. It would be Talib. I feel as long as he stays away from Wes Welker. I just feel like a guy. They need a guy like that, and a Revis too. But I don't think that they could ever possibly afford to work with what Revis is for the risk. Please get us some help in that secondary. It's disrespectful to football and to life and to the birds and the trees and everything. I'm over it. I can't do it anymore. Like, I'm 10 seconds away from just hanging myself with a belt. That was a little too far. So I want to thank everybody for tuning in. We'll probably have more draft talk next week, I'm sure. I don't really know what the schedule is going to look like, but the draft talk's fun. It's a hot topic at this point. I want to encourage everybody to, when you check us out here, give us a comment, interact, and we'll chop it up with you a little bit. You can subscribe to us. Please tell your friends. And you can check out our website at www.sports-kings.com. You can find us on Twitter at RealSportsKings. And you can hit us on Facebook. Just type in Sports-Kings in your little search bar. You'll find our like page. Give it a like. Ask us questions there. Until next time, on behalf of myself and the guys here, thank you for watching, and we'll see you next week. Can't forget my salute. And there's the logo. Oh, yeah, right there.